Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Listen, this is not a coincidence. Do you see how everything's lining up? So for the last month, we've had a ton of activity with SBI, right? Even recent, we covered an article in the last 3 days with activity from SBI in Japan. We have a ton of activity with Ripple in Japan. Even, I think it was yesterday we covered that article where Ripple is working with certain universities and companies. Don't quote me on that. Go make sure you read those articles. But they're developing AI on the XRPL. But that's just where things are beginning. I beg your pardon. That's just where things are beginning. You have all this activity in Japan. Crypto is being unleashed around the world globally. So all of that, keep all that in mind together. Now, listen to this. They could have done this at any time. Why now? I'm telling you, there's something big building up. We're building to something. We're witnessing it. Why now? Japan's shift to cashless society prods BOJ, the Bank of Japan. The same Bank of Japan that has a great relationship with Ripple, has worked with Ripple countless times over the last 4 years. So let's keep that in mind also. Yes. Let's continue on. Japan's shift to cashless society prods BOJ call for payment innovation. Listen, they know what they're doing. They know what they're saying, what they're alluding to. Payment innovation, as if the legacy system offerings haven't been there for years. They've been trying to compete with DLT for years. Trying to weave their way in with their lesser, no disrespect, their lesser and inferior technologies. It didn't work. So if that's not what they're talking about, because they could have absorbed that, they could have. They didn't. They didn't. BOJ has a great relationship with Ripple. Ripple has a lot of business in Japan. SBI has a lot of business in Japan. They even said, head of SBI, Yoshitaka Katao, said he believed that Japan would run on XRP. Go look that up do a Google search. And you'll see. So if the legacy system has not been absorbed all this time, their offerings, their solutions, which, I got an article for you. Click that like button. Boom, boom, boom. Hit that like button. I got an article for you coming up that shows a lot. In my humble opinion, it's not financial advice. Every day we're seeing a little bit more right now. There's so much coming out. We're going to feast. Not financial advice. It's just my humble opinion. Individuals like myself. And what I mean by that is people who understand the utility coins, the bank coins. There's a feast coming, a golden age, whatever you want to say. Heap your own phrase upon it. It's coming. There's no way. But we'll get to that article a little bit later, okay? You'll know it when you see it. Oh, man. So call for payment innovation. What does that mean? Listen, they want DLT. Now we understand, at least we're beginning to see more evidence as to why SBI's head multiple times, not one time, because I remember it clearly. They said it 1 year. I think it was around 2022, maybe. They came out and they were saying, we believe Japan is going to run on XRP. Okay, that's one. Then they came back. It was like 2023. They said it again. It was around that summertime. Same individual, the leader, the head, said it again. Now, whether those articles can be found or not, the videos I post are still up. So they can't get rid of that. Hopefully. But do a search on that. But now we're understanding why they said that so confidently, because back then people were still questioning everything. We hadn't gotten as far as we've gone now. They're getting ready for absolute domination. Keep an eye on these top bank coin companies and what they have been doing. They want the XRPL, a few other ones they're going to sprinkle in there as well. It's not just going to be XRP and XRPL. No, it's not. I've never said that. I'm not an absolutist. You should know that by now. But will they take a huge portion? In my humble opinion, yes. They stand to do that. I'm not saying it as a guarantee. There's no guarantees in life. I know that. I'm saying it as a high possibility or probability of happening. Yes. It looks like that until I see otherwise. Let me read you just a little tidbit and we're going to move on. There's a lot to cover today. Bank of Japan officials are ramping up calls to keep pace with rapid developments around digital currencies. I told you. Right. They're exposing it themselves. I should have just read this piece to you. It's a digital currencies that may accelerate the shift to cashless payments in a country better known for its belief that cash is king. No, nonsense. And they know they know that's not true. As advanced as Japan is, and I'll say this, I want to juxtapose something here, right? It's not in the US, it's not just the technologies and the companies that are archaic. A lot of the thinking in the US is very anachronistic and primitive when it's in the financial system. But I get it. If it's not broke, to them, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It works for those big companies. And they even have been saying for the longest time that first it was e-money, electronic money is the way. Now it's digital money is the way. Even they've been saying there's no way that Japan believes that cash is king. No way. Although physical stuff is definitely superior in every possible way to something that, is not non-physical, in my humble opinion. And when I think about that, I think about gold, physical gold. Let me make that clear. Not fiat currency, but I get where the idea comes from. It's a smokescreen. Come on, people. But just the statement in itself tells you. They said rapid development. Everything's already been developed. So what are they really trying to say? All the top utility coin companies have their products already ready, and they've been vastly enhanced over what they were 2-3 years ago. So what they're talking about actually is rapid deployment that's coming. Rapid development? No. They've been developing for the longest time. No, what they mean is rapid deployment. That's what's coming. What are they talking about right now? Right? They're talking about companies and partnerships, companies implementing the technology, them landing partnerships. You have companies now trying to make reserves out of Solana and XRP, all these bank coins. So it's deployment they're talking about. But see, this is deceptive. You got to be very, very careful with a lot of these articles when you're reading them, because they don't, once again, this is my belief, they don't want you too bullish. They don't want the people too bullish. They don't. So they manipulate the language so that they can get clicks and views, but they have controllers. So their controllers are like, hey, make your money, but get your views, but don't go too far. Yeah. A lot of individuals, when you're in the industry, they're beholden to someone. Someone funds them. They have to obey a rule. Anyway, so I keep that in mind when I'm reading certain things and I'm observing certain verbiage be used. Once seen as a society favoring physical currency, Japan saw the ratio of cashless payments rise to 42.8% in 2024, up from 13.2% in 2010, and hitting the government's 40% goal a year earlier than targeted government data showed. Folks, I'm gonna leave off with this. Do your research on Ripple in Japan, XRPL experimentation in Japan, SBI in Japan, and there's someone else. I can't remember who. Right? I could throw other bank coin companies in there that have ties in Japan that could be major, but I'll wait to see a little bit more before we discuss that now. Sorry about that. A little air in my chest. So now let's move on here. This one is interesting. Before we get to that next article that I'm telling you about that tells a lot, let's just break up the rhythm a little bit with a little bit of a fun article here. All right. And it's informative. Anytime we have fun, it's also informative. So now, this article is titled, "Here's XRP price if XRPL handles 14% of Swift volume as projected by Ripple CEO." That's another thing. I expect the pressure. Watch what's going on with the locations of where Ripple is either where they're initiating anything. Watch the locations. If you're starting to see them really fan out globally with, we have partnerships over here, we're doing this over here, we're doing this over here, I believe part of what's going to be happening, if all of that is made news and it's getting really, really good publicity, which a really good push, I think a lot of that is to put pressure on Swift. I do. Not everything has to be announced majorly, like on major platforms. A lot of the times, it's just independent researchers like myself and you, and we're just talking about these particular things. But when it starts to get covered on major platforms, there's a reason for it. There's a strategy for it. There's a cause for every effect. They want to put pressure on Swift. I firmly believe that they want to bring Swift to its, not to it like its knees in a very detrimental way, but show them, hey, you have to work with us, or you're going to get your throne usurped by us, right? When you take over the throne. Let's scroll down and find out. It says XRP's price has the potential to skyrocket to double digits if the XRPL handles 14% of Swift volume. As projected by Ripple CEO, did Garlinghouse say something like that? Let's find out. If you're article writer, if you're going to say that, I'm going to need a quote. I'm dead serious. It says, for context, at 2025 XRPL Apex event in Singapore, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse responded to a direct question. Regarding, that might be a thumbnail right there. That look right there. When I do thumbnail, I just take a screenshot from the video and yeah, that's what I do. I take a screenshot from the video that I think is okay, and I use that. But you probably could tell that already. But that might be the thumbnail right there. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse responded to a direct question regarding the future of the XRPL amid growing adoption. All right. Specifically, a journalist asked both Garlinghouse and Ripple CTO David Schwartz how much of Swift's transaction volume the XRP ledger could realistically handle in the next 5 years. Who's the journalist? Give the journalist a shout out, because that's a good question. All right. Swift's, wait. Why is it jumping up? Oh, the ad is pushing it up. Look at it. It did it again. This ad is loading in, is pushing the article up as it's loading in. Well, in response, Garlinghouse explained that it's important to separate Swift's messaging function. Thank you, Mr. Garlinghouse. You know what? Because a lot of people, they like to get that mixed up there on purpose. So I'm glad you're clarifying. All right. But he continues to separate Swift's messaging function from its liquidity role. He focused on liquidity, which he believes truly matters for XRP's growth. Yes. Eventually, he estimated that XRPL could take on 14% of Swift's total transaction volume within that time. Keep in mind, while that's going on, they said 5 years. Keep in mind, while that's going on, they're dominating B2B cross-border. They should be. There's no reason they shouldn't. If they do their job, they're dominating B2B. Payments of all kinds, even payroll. Wait, you saw the article we covered recently, didn't you? Yes, you did. That was in the last 2 weeks, where they literally are calling for innovations in technology. They were looking at DLT for payroll. I told you. And who was testing out mechanisms for payroll early on, years ago, at the beginning of the channel? Who was it? It was Ripple. You think that was for no reason? Do you think that's not going to come in handy right now? Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it will. It should. It should. Let's keep going, folks. It's been a hot week. Eventually, he estimated that the XRPL could take on 14% of Swift's total transaction volume within that time. And keep in mind, a lot of these individuals most of these individuals who make predictions, whether it's Garlinghouse or some financial analysts, etc., they always play it safe, because if they're wrong, they typically don't want to be too wrong. So what does that lead me in thought? That means that they're lowballing that number. They're playing it safe. They're not giving you too much, so that if it's wrong, you're like, oh, you said 28%, but it was 14. No, they're lowballing it, so that way it's reasonable. It's possible enough. So that means that this is what he believes is very, very likely to happen. So now, I could have said that in a much more eloquent way. I know. I don't think I got out 75% of what I actually wanted to say right there, but it was just like, I did the best I could. You ever feel like that in a long week? Let's keep going. Using this more realistic estimate, 14% of $150 trillion equals $21 trillion in yearly volume flowing through the XRPL. This is what Garlinghouse. So Garlinghouse is leading you to this information. 21 trillion yearly. Do your own calculations, folks. Trust yourself more than anyone else. Trust yourself. Do your own calculations on this. Is what Garlinghouse is saying. You like XRP? You believe in XRP? Get that calculator out. It says here, so we asked, the article writer is going to do it for you. Okay, let's see what they came up with. We asked ChatGPT from OpenAI to break down what this could mean for XRP's price. Why didn't you just do the calculations? I suppose it's easier just to put it into the AI, I guess, but I guess it's easier to do that. I like AI when it comes to generating images. I like AI when don't worry, we're going to get back to this. Just hold on. Let me flow for a second. Be a person. Let me flow. Hit that like button, by the way. Hit that like button. Boom. But I like AI when it comes to image generation and video generation, but anything else, I don't know. I don't trust it all the time. It will give you the wrong information. That's why I think it's best always to just do an old school Google search, Yahoo, Bing search, and trust your own eyes. It'll give you the wrong information. I've seen it before. Okay, it'll tell you the wrong thing. That's why I break out that Google. I gotta go old school. I also wouldn't trust it with calculations, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just that good now. Could be that good. It says at the time of the question, XRP traded at $2.24 and had a market cap of $131.9 billion and a circulating supply of 58.81 billion tokens, including the full supply of 100 billion tokens. XRP's fully diluted market cap would sit at $224 billion. It says here, XRP price if this projection materializes. It says, sorry about that. Like, when it comes to summertime, you should know that if you've been on the channel for a long time, my skin sheds like a snake's. It happens at the beginning of summer and in the fall. You're going to see me do a lot of this. Like, it just randomly happens. Anyway, in response, anybody else like that? In response, and I drink a lot of water. So, yeah, I drink a lot of water. Somebody like, drink some water. I drink a lot of water. In response, ChatGPT suggested that XRP doesn't burn large amounts of... Wait a minute. Suggested that XRP doesn't burn large amounts of tokens in each transaction. Huh? What do you mean by that? That sounds like... Let me keep going. Instead, it gets reused. Meaning its value is influenced more by transaction velocity and liquidity needs than by token scarcity. You agree to that? ChatGPT started by pointing out how XRP could handle $21 trillion in annual volume, since XRP acts as a bridge asset for payments. Keep in mind also, with a lot of the different mechanisms where you can only use XRP, that means XRP would necessarily become rare because it would be in constant flow. That definitely would affect the price. The less XRP that's out there, because it's always in flow in systems, would make it rare and the price would skyrocket. All right, let me keep going. It doesn't need to hold the full 21 trillion. Who said it did? Who said it did? What's the difference between holding that 21 trillion and it's constantly 21 trillion flowing through it, even though it's getting sold and bought and sold and bought and moved and held? What's the difference? It's 21 trillion, 21 trillion. Going through, or is it being held on or going through the XRPL? It don't make a difference. As long as 21 trillion is touching it. That's what matters. It's touching it. It's being used by it. I don't know how else to phrase that. It's going to affect it. Yes or no? Like button. Hit that like button. Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna sneak it in there. Right. The major factor is transaction speed, how often the same XRP moves through the system. All right, right now, I don't know if you're like me. I would like to hear the numbers. With that pool size and the current supply of XRP, the price per token would need to rise to about $11.90, nearly $12. Wait a minute, did I miss something? Let me go back up. It says, assuming each token turns over 30 times a year, or about every 12 days, the network would need a liquidity pool of around $700 billion in XRP to support the full $21 trillion volume. With that pool size and the current supply of XRP, the price per token would need to rise to about $11.90, nearly $12. However, utility is not the only factor that drives the market. That number looks so sus. With all of that activity and the amount that they're talking about, $11.90, it would need to rise to about that. Like, I don't know about that. I don't know. Can anyone throw two more AIs in this and ask them that same question? But I could be wrong. That just doesn't look right to me. But let's keep going. ChatGPT factored in the potential for speculative interest in institutional participation, which could elevate XRP's valuation beyond its base utility value. If the demand pushes the market cap to 1.5 times the base value, XRP's price could hit $17.85. If it doubles the base value, the token might climb to $23.81. Also, this is not taking into account payroll. This is not taking into account all the different reserves that people are attempting to do, where they're going to hold XRP. One, retail investors holding XRP. Two, then they are taking into account people maybe purchasing XRP at that time because of the hype. But there's a lot of variables it's not taken into account. But this was interesting. Okay, so now let me get to this article. This video might be a little longer. Than normal. I'm trying to get you all this good information. Now, shout out to the members only section. The members only section makes every single video, not just the members only videos. They make every single video possible on this channel. Shout out to them and thank you to them for keeping this channel alive. Now, this article is titled Chainlink, JP Morgan, Ondo Finance complete cross-chain treasury settlement. Chainlink in the mix again. Look how active they are. Does this not appear bullish to you? And another thing that it shows, this is the article I wanted people to see. JP Morgan in there again. What happened to all their legacy solutions? Oh, nobody wants it. Nobody wants to play in this old legacy game. They don't. So instead of using their own technology, they have their own blockchain. They have to come crawling to Chainlink. This is going to be a continued trend. DLT, the bank coin companies like Chainlink, XRP, you see how active they are. Hedera been active. Cardano's been active. A lot of good news coming out of the bank coin family, isn't it? They will dominate. It's their time. The world does not want legacy system offerings any longer. They can't play the way they want to. They can't expand. They can't have global reach the way that they want to. They can't move as fast as they want to. They're not innovative how they want to be. The only way they can do it is through the bank coin companies. And you see that Chainlink here. That's why I wanted the people to see. But let me read this little tidbit to you. It says, they completed a cross-chain DVP settlement between a permission payment network and a public RWA blockchain. Chainlink, JP Morgan's Connexus, and Ondo Finance completed a first of its kind, quote unquote, cross-chain delivery versus payment DVP settlement. The test involved Connexus Digital Payments, a permission network operated by JP Morgan, and Ondo Chain's testnet. Now you're getting those multi-digital currencies again, those multi-digital currency chains or DLT chains again. This is what's happening right here, which is focused on real-world asset tokenization, Chainlink said in a Thursday announcement. The settlement was coordinated by Chainlink's runtime environment, an off-chain compute layer designed for interoperable finance systems. Okay, now I want to close out with a little bit of Bitcoin. Cannot leave my Bitcoin people out. All right. Give you this article right here, if it'll load up. All right. All right. Hope you're doing good out there. I know you did good today. All right. And if no one told you, then I'm telling you, you did a good job today. All right. So let's keep that energy going. Let's keep that momentum going. There's nothing that can stop us. We're going to climb the highest mountains. We're going to conquer everything we ever wanted to conquer, period. And then we'll go further. Bitwise CEO, Bitcoin hits no sell zone above $130,000 to $150,000. Bitwise CEO makes a bold prediction. Bitcoin holders will stop selling once crypto hits 130,000 to 150,000 range, potentially sparking unprecedented price surges. Which holders? Retail? Retail whales? Or are you talking about the companies that have been stepping in and taking over? Which one are you talking about? I believe you're talking about the companies. Retail is going to sell. They're moved even just by the littlest bit of news. They're going to sell. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Bitwise's CEO declares no one? Why would you say such a thing? No one is going to sell their Bitcoin above this price level. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that, sir? Bitwise Asset Management CEO Hunter Horsley. That makes me think back. You remember if anybody watched the WWF/WWE back a long time ago. Triple H name used to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Remember that? That's what this man's name reminds me of. It says shared his expectation on social media platform X on June the 10th that once Bitcoin surpasses this particular number, 130K to 150K, selling pressure will significantly diminish. But why? What makes you say that? Leading to a perpetual upward trajectory for the cryptocurrency, Horsley boldly states. Yeah, and I would love that. I want that, but give me a supporting reason why. You can't just say that. You have to have a reason why. He says, quote, from there on, when people need liquidity, they're going to borrow from an ever-growing set of lenders, unquote. He says he predicts this selling will, quote, peter off as Bitcoin establishes new price highs. His core argument rests on the idea that at these elevated levels, holders will increasingly opt to borrow against their Bitcoin holdings for liquidity rather than selling their Bitcoin outright. Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this. Okay. And because you said that, now I know exactly who you're talking about as well. All right. So that was a crucial piece. But if this indeed happens, then that would be a beautiful thing amongst all the other major catalysts for Bitcoin, of course. All right. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody. I better. You let me forget to tend to the garden today. Oh, I don't like to forget things. All right, I got to go handle business. Well, until next time, let's get to the money. And it was a hot day today. I got to go tend to the garden. Money.